friends to a podcast that's been described as
emotional
and
terrifying.
one guy even said it was
So awesome it will shock you to the core.
finally another podcast about Godzilla and all his giant monster friends.
This could be the end of civilization.
Yeah, probably. So join your hosts, KES and Slick.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're listening to the podcast from Odo Island. Welcome to the podcast from Odo Island. Follow us on the internet at Odo Island Pod. I am KES, and with me is a man who rides his bicycle. He likes to be happy. He fills his heart with love. He rides his bicycle. Slick, how you doing?
Just having a good BMX of a day. BMX bike of a day. There we go. Try to riff on that. Failed. Failed really hard.
Hello and thank you for being here.
Good to see you.
Oh, hello. We did a fun one this week. We have the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of Gamera versus Guiron.
I go with Guiron. But I think we should do more Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes in the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely on that.
That's the only way I'll ever want to watch the giant Gila monster and stuff like that. Like, it's gotta be Mystery Science Theater 3000.
We'll get into that in a little bit. Before we start with that, I've been following the news and,
Big news.
Big news. I was going to get there, but I was going to say, do you want to let me know what happened?
Let's teeing it up for you.
Yeah.
We got, fortunately, news broke prior to Thursday, which is always nice because then we get to actually pod about it because we record on Thursdays. But we got a Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire teaser trailer.
It's Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah, but I mean, it's and. That's what it is.
If it was and, it would be Y. Godzilla
It's
Kong.
True.
But that's next.
So, your initial thoughts on this trailer that is setting the old internet aflutter?
So at first, I thought the orangutan was just sort of like it was like an anime thing going on with it.
Oh yeah,
I didn't think it was like an actual orangutan. I thought someone was just like doing like an animation of like Kong on his throne.
Yeah,
and then you mentioned it was like, oh, it's not like Kong. It was like an orangutan. So I actually watched it on my TV and not my phone. I was like, oh, it's like a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get this. It's a lot skinnier than Kong. It looks like sitting on a throne. I like some people pointed out. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I like this idea. Like when you get the close up of the face at the end, like it's possible like some like the reddish hue in the face could actually be war paint. And I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool if that was that was the case, because it seems very apparent that this is a evil orangutan or another member of Kong's species that is just priming for war.
A usurper.
Yeah, I like it. I like that like the MonsterVerse tried to be serious for 2 whole movies with 2014 and Skull Island, and then after that just said, nah, man, we're going in deep with the weird shit.
Yeah.
And here, like, this is the full blown commitment here. And I'm good for this. I want this.
So I watched it when I like first got up, and like first hour I'm up, if I'm not like down in some coffee, I'm pretty much like mentally useless. So that's why I thought it was like an anime thing. And they were just like,
well, it does look, it's very CGI.
Yeah.
I don't think that's wrong to think it was an anime thing.
And then I watched it, like I said, then I watched it on my TV and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And I'm excited for it. I like the idea of like showing me one new monster and then like it's probably more.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. I love the idea of like an evil, like kind of like mirror universe Kong. It makes me hope that like this Kong has like an evil member of Godzilla's species that it'll be Godzilla and Kong versus like their kind of evil analogs. And I was like, it's like I feel like this can go in so many cool ways. And in my head, I was like, oh, it's like think of all the merch, all the figures that we can get. Like if there's like some sort of like, I don't know, there's never been like a true Godzilla, like a Godzilla of Godzilla's species to fight Godzilla. Like we've got Space Godzilla, Mecha Godzillas, all this other stuff, but like what if it's like another of Godzilla's species that's just an asshole and is teaming with this like orangutan.
Just like a slightly darker hue, like it's a Mortal Kombat mirror match.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like the old Star Trek episode and has like a goatee. And then the yeah, it's got an evil goatee. You know, like, I mean, even if it is just the war orangutan or whatever, I still like, I like that idea. I like this, you know, I think everyone's kind of assuming that like this is going to be like some sort of like war Kong or whatever that's going to, you know, try to kill Kong and Godzilla. I'm like, oh, it's kind of, I like that. Yeah. I like this. Feels like War of the Planet of the Apes mixed with Godzilla and Kong.
Kind of what it is, yeah. Because you got like the Hollow Earth. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what was, I had like another concept in my head of, or another idea in my head of like what this is like. I lost it. Maybe it'll come back to me. But maybe. But that movie comes out in March of 2024. That's
11 months.
Yeah, that's not too far away when you think about it.
Nope.
And if you think in the interim, we're also getting the Japanese Godzilla movie in November, and then at some point this Apple Plus TV show that's supposed to be this year. That's a lot of it's a lot of stuff.
Plus the Kong.
Oh yeah, the Kong anime. Yeah. And is there something else coming out too? Oh yeah, the Gamera anime.
Yep.
Boy, there's a lot of shit on the horizon.
Sure is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be meat on this bone.
I know, great. It's awesome when we don't really have to like plot out like content for the podcast for a while. It's awesome.
We'll just do Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes until then.
I like how I said like we plot out content like as we put up polls every week, trying to figure out what we're doing on an episode to episode basis.
Very legitimate polls, like the Gappa one.
Yeah, yeah.
Gappa finally won.
Glad we got that out of the way. That that has been removed from our lives forever.
Yep.
But yeah, so I had a lot of thoughts on the trailer. What do you? I didn't mean to take all your time there on the trailer. What are your thoughts?
I asked you to lay it down. So
oh yeah.
Like I definitely love the orangutan kaiju. I think that's going to be awesome. I like the idea you pointed of analog Godzilla.
Yeah,
like do some different color schemes with them. Can have some different powers. I like the idea of like a stable of like bad guys for Godzilla and Kong to go up against. You know, it could be real like Hogan and Savage versus like the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah,
just get like a ton of monsters and just have them like clean house with them all.
Yeah.
You could have like a Godzilla. You could have the orangutan. You could have like, you know, throw in the spiders, throw in the snakes. You get your mandas. You get your whatchamacallits there.
The candy? The whatchamacallits? The candy?
So yeah, like this is just a teaser. They didn't give you anything of the plot. You're basically, your job right now is to run wild with
speculation.
Yeah. So that's what it's good. The teaser is good for. I'm very much so looking forward to a trailer coming. I'm hoping probably in the next like 3 months, I would say. Like usually that's how these work. Like every 3 months or so they drop something on you.
Yeah. If we're gonna have a March release, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe like, you know, in the next 6 months we'll get like a trailer 1, and then like leading up you'll get a trailer 2s and trailer 3s.
Maybe Canon and D will make a return to the trailers.
But like, yeah, this is just a teaser, so you didn't get much, but what you got was awesome.
Yeah, it's a sign that they are just full on committing to the silliness, and I love it. I always, you know, I like the idea of the animes or movies that come out of Japan being very serious and taking that approach, and the MonsterVerse kind of being like the fun kind of popcorn counterpart to that. I think that's a great rhythm that we're in right now, and have been in for, you know, several years now. And I'm glad to see that is continuing with the MonsterVerse. So
yeah, it's crazy that we have the Godzilla movie coming out in November and we haven't gotten a trailer yet for that.
Yeah, if I remember right, I feel like the Shin Godzilla trailer was also fairly close to the release of when Shin Godzilla got released. I feel like there was not a lot of lag time between the trailer and the actual release.
Okay.
So I think it's just, you know, just different styles of approaching it. But now that we presumably have a new original villain kind of taking up the lead role in Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. Do you want there to be a Toho monster mixed in, or would you kind of at this point think it's going to work better if it's like just kind of more original MonsterVerse creations at this point?
Well, unless they're gonna use like a rarely used one, I don't see the point of it. From my understanding, it costs a lot of money to have Godzilla or Toho properties on screen, so they're probably gonna do more of the original stuff, which I don't blame them for. Like when you have like the last movie was like very Kong heavy because they didn't have to pay for Kong to be on screen as much, so they only had to pay for Godzilla, and so if that's going to be the case, like why not just make more new ones than like really make the Toho ones special or something like that?
Yeah, I agree. And the new and the original creations have been good. I've liked both the Mutos and the Skullcrawlers.
Yeah.
So seems like they've demonstrated that whoever is coming up with these ideas for new kaiju, like I think they're doing pretty good. And my last question is: does Doug get a bigger role?
This actually brings something up that I almost forgot. That
I know you've said in the past, to quote you, "Fuck Doug."
Oh,
so,
I just said "fuck Doug" because everyone else was like making a big deal about it.
You killed him off in your sequel idea.
I know. That's what I was saying. I only did it just to fuck with people. Like, it wasn't like a serious, like deep felt hatred or anything like that. It was just like, oh, you like Doug, do you? Here you go. I'm a terrible person. It was the GRRM in me coming out. But yeah, I would probably say that like maybe you make Doug grow up a little bit and make him a crazy Angra style monster, because that's what he seemed like he was. But
yeah,
what I was going to ask you is, let's name the orangutan.
Oh, so there's one Twitter account I follow. I think it's KDM or something like that. They seem to have a pretty good track record of they don't spoil stuff, but they seem to kind of like have leaks in sources that have in the past several movies have kind of seemed to have been confirmed. And so like whenever like they tweet something kind of coy, like especially around this trailer, like they said something like they kind of tease something like, oh, let's, I think until the name gets revealed, I'm going to call him Ares. And I was like, okay, so I feel like this is very like God of War type thing going in here. Oh, maybe he's going to be like Mars or something.
So I'm not interested in what you think the name is going to be. I'm saying let's name him
Paul, because a lot of Pauls I know are dicks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to name it Glock, gender irrelevant.
All right, so we got Paul and Glock. Paul goes well with Doug. And actually, I just realized the one Paul that we are mutual friends with has a brother-in-law named Doug. And I'm not talking about that Paul. That's the one good Paul I know.
Oh, I definitely thought you were talking about that Paul.
No. I was thinking of somebody I had not social interactions with, but I was like, yeah, that guy, Paul's a dick.
All right.
So
Paul Glock is the orangutan's name. But yeah, with that out of the way, any other news you want to hit me with? Anything else happen?
There was a Bandai movie monster series Godzilla, prototype style Godzilla. Did you see that? I put that in some of our group chats.
Yeah.
That's based on the one of the unused original 1954 designs, and that is wild to me. That is getting a Bandai figure. That's pretty sweet.
It's got the cool GMK eyes.
Yeah. Very underrepresented Godzilla figure, or not figure, but style. It was used in some like the promotional posters and stuff like that for the 1954 movie and stuff like that. Use some publicity stills, but that'll be a day one buy for me. So
yeah, we'll see what happens with me. I've got other priorities with Godzilla figures I need to get lined up.
Understood.
I still technically don't have a Megalon figure.
Yeah, but you got a nice poster now, though.
I do.
Yeah.
But But anyway, anything else we got going on?
Nope. I think the teaser trailer was enough.
Yeah, the teaser trailer was cool. So into the topic we go. Gamera versus Guiron, MST3K. Set this table for me, pal.
It's going to be a double table setting.
Oh.
One for the Gamera movie, one for Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Two tables.
Two tables being set. So, Gamera vs. Guiron came out in 1969. Came out in 1969.
Nice.
Thank you. Released 1 year later in, I can't believe I've had so many dick jokes. This is very unlike me on this podcast. But anyway, so released 1 year later to television in the US as Attack of the Monsters in 1970 by American International Television. Very edited compared to the version that we watched in the original Japanese version. So edited because that scene of Guiron just killing Space Gauss was so intense that it was edited that after his foot gets chipped off, he flies away. That was how that was re-edited. It's also in the original plotting for this movie. There was going to be another kaiju that was going to be based on a flying squirrel that may have perhaps filled the Space Gauss role. That was going to be called manga. There is concept art of this kaiju. It literally looks like a flying squirrel.
Never mind that shit. Here comes manga.
Yeah, that's we could have made that joke all episode if that happened. Sandy Frank gets it in the 1980s, and if you have watched enough Gamera episodes on Mystery Science Theater 3000, you know they love to make fun of Sandy Frank. So this is another one of the movies that Sandy Frank got his hands on in the 1980s, and he basically had it redubbed and used basically the original Japanese cut of the film, and the only thing he changed was the intro credits, ending credits, and basically left everything else unedited. And this I did not know. I think I said months ago that I was playing Attack of the Monsters on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and I think I said at that time, I was like, there's all these like clips of like Gamera movies and like a few other miscellaneous, like Pulgasari and stuff like that are just like randomly in the game, like in the background. And I was like, how do they even get like the rights to this? But I did not know this. Apparently you can actually unlock those movies in the game and watch them, like the entire movies. And this is one of those movies. So that was a little random piece of trivia to learn. But on the Mystery Science Theater 3000 side of the table, this is one of the few movies that was actually riffed twice on MST3K. It was part of the original KTMA run when they were on like that local public access station.
Yep.
I watched a couple of clips of it. That was not the polished show that they would quickly go on to become. But this was part of season 3, originally Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was in 1991. It was part of the Gamera Turkey Day Marathon in 1992. I watched my VHS tape of this when I recorded it as a really young child in 1994, and that marathon was the Candid Gamera Marathon. And that's it. There you go.
That's it, huh? So before we get into the actual movie itself, are you a Joel guy or a Mike guy?
Joel.
It's just funny you said that. I thought you were going to say that. Because you picked the movie with Mike in it at the end, so.
Well, he was on the staff
I know.
at the time. But
it's funny how you I think you're a secret Mike guy.
I mean,
I think you like Zombie Nightmare, and I think you like Soul Taker.
So my like
Werewolf,
Mystery Science Theater 3000, like the Comedy Central years, like I think without a doubt that's my favorite show of all time.
Oh wow.
And I do like the Mike episodes in the Comedy Central years. I think when the show moves to the Sci-Fi Channel, I don't think it was that good anymore. I didn't really enjoy it. And then Mike has obviously gone on to be a complete dirtbag. So, but in the vacuum of watching these shows in the early 90s, maybe Mike was a dirtbag. We didn't know he was a dirtbag at the time. Maybe becoming a dirtbag was a thing he decided to do later in life. But I did find him funny, but ultimately, I think, Joel has just got such like a better deadpan, serious style of like delivery with his jokes and just kind of like a ho hum type like way about him that I think is just his comedic timing. I think is just like it's second to none. It's just too good.
That was quite the response. I mean, I was just joking around with you.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. It's my thoughts on the matter.
No, that's pretty much how I feel about it too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to accuse you of being a Mike guy.
Oh well, I mean it's quite an accusation. But no, I mean I will say there was some good there's plenty of good Mike content in the Comedy Central years. I thought he was very funny during the Comedy Central years. I think the show just generally kind of falls off though once they move to the Sci-Fi Channel. Felt that way as a kid when I was like watching it live. I remember thinking it wasn't that funny on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Interesting.
But there was a lot of outside factors on that too. They were there's a whole oral history that's really well done about like how like they were only allowed to watch certain types of movies and like just really like a lot of, like the creative reins are just lost, and then the original writers and cast are kind of moving out of the show and stuff like that. So that's that.
Well, anyway, these are some of my favorite Joel episodes, the Gamera ones.
Mm-hmm.
They bring back Ichi at a certain point in this episode, for just a little bit.
Via stock footage. Yeah.
He's in there as well as Gauss, but not Space Gauss. It's just the Gauss from the other movie. And they even make a joke saying like, "Oh, that's his old photo. It's his high school photo."
Yeah. Also, they have Kenny from the very first Gamera movie, and I think they call him like I feel like I wrote down because I like laughed out loud, but it was like they like called him like a big ball of butter or something like that. And I was like, whew.
But yeah, this is not the first time I've watched this episode. What stands out to me the most about this episode is when, like, halfway through the movie, they start just saying, hello, hi, hello, thank you.
Yeah.
And they keep doing that for the rest of the movie. And that's always how I remember this episode, is just by that joke that it keeps on coming back. Like, they say hello, like, 20 times in 2 minutes. And so they just keep on doing it for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. They also, we were kind of talking before the start. Like, I guess we'll have to do this both as a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode and a Gamera movie.
Okay.
But like on like the MST3K side, like there's like this like really cheesy instrumental piece of music that plays at the beginning of the movie. We both were talking about how like it's like while the kids are like first riding bikes, and it's like Tom Servo's like kind of leading this like improv song about like riding the bike and how long the song's going for, and it's like that stuff is just comedic gold.
Ride my bicycle.
It almost goes into the Queen song about bicycles, but not quite.
I'm gonna no.
I think the riffing is, I mean, they were just untouchable. I feel like during these early seasons of this, and I was saying to you before, it was like towards the end, it's like I feel like the last like 20 minutes is just so many good like one-liners and stuff like that just like slipped in, and it's
we're all gonna die from Gamera's hand.
Yeah, it's like whatever they talk
I'm
about.
gonna be first to be crushed.
Whatever like they you do this a lot in movies. It's like whatever like they kind of play the role of like children becoming like members of like cults and saying like really like dark things like that. It's just I'm like a sucker for that style of humor.
So yeah, the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of this is just so funny. If you're not the biggest Gamera fan, I would recommend watching these. If you love Gamera, you could probably just watch the originals and be fine. But like, this is just so much better to watch if you just want to like laugh and enjoy the movie too.
Oh yeah. I think I've heard like some people say like, oh, I don't really like MST3K takes on movies because like they almost feel like they're kind of being that it's like degrading the movie or whatever. I don't think that. I think like I don't ever think. I mean, they do watch some bad movies, and I think they definitely put down really bad movies. Yeah. I think when they watch movies like this, I mean, this is, spoilers, I guess, towards like my voting towards the end. I don't think this is a very good Gamera movie, but I feel like this is a genre that they like a lot, and I don't feel like they're ever really being too. I think they're making fun with the movie. I don't think they're ever being very like insulting towards the movie. I think there are certainly some movies like Laser Blast or Mitchell where they're just like,
Laser blast.
this
Oh,
is
man,
this
that's
is
one of my
bad.
favorites.
This is a bad movie. Like, so
Mitchell, just hearing you say that makes me want to be.
oh my god, that's even with the Mystery Science Theater 3000 riffing is
That
tough
was
to
a line
get.
from the
It's tough to get through. That's a tough one to get through. Like, I don't ever feel like they're really insulting these movies.
Yeah.
The Gamera movies.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, they admit like the intro, they say it's cheesy and a bad movie, but that's the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, if you feel like any movie is not like worthy to be made fun of, then you're kind of just like a snob and need to get off your high horse. Don't make fun of this movie. Come on now, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But like, as a Gamera movie, yeah, this is kind of weird and cheesy. It's just about basically like three kids look through a telescope and see a spaceship coming to Earth, and they find it, and these two hot aliens bring these kids on board, and they're like, "Hey, let's go to our home planet." And then they don't realize that the aliens are going to eat them,
Eat the brains raw, specifically.
eat them and shave their heads. But so they basically bring them back to their planet, and they have this knife-headed monster who they call like their guard dog, who's Guiron, and he fights Space Gauss and defeats him.
Yep.
He fights Gamera and throws him to the bottom of a lake where he was standing right next to, which was very amusing to me. I love when Gamera is standing in the water, and then the next scene he is down 100 feet in the water right next to where he was standing.
Yeah. Yeah. All because of those like little like throwing stars or whatever from Guiron just apparently really just incapacitated.
Right. But like that's what I mean. Like he was standing on the water, and then he's down like 100 feet like the next.
Yeah.
It's just like when movies do that, I'm just like, God, I hate it. I hate it so much. Like Game of Thrones did it one episode. It's like they did it for the shot, but it's just like you removed logic.
You've played Final Fantasy VII, right? The original, not the remake.
The original, yeah.
Yeah. Like it's like when Aerith gets killed by Sephiroth, it's like they're standing like when Cloud is like letting her go like in the water. Like first they're standing waist deep in water. The next scene, she's like literally just like sinking like 1,000 feet. Now, granted, I think that's done for artistic effect,
Right.
But,
This was not. This was just like let them sink down to the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of glossed over the Space Gauss fight, but like he like chops him to pieces,
Right.
And it's.
I was just trying to get through like summarize the plot real quick.
Yeah.
We can get to that in just a second. But like basically what happens is Gamera comes back to the Earth and like throws a rocket into Guiron's head and blows him up, and that's that.
Yeah. My problem with the movie is like
the aliens don't eat the kids.
They don't. Spoilers.
But,
no
but
kids
the kids
get eaten.
get 30 spankings.
They do. They should, yes. I think the problem with it's a stupid movie, but this is like when Gamera's like just straight up like made to entertain kids now. So I was not expecting high art.
It's a stupid movie. Stupid movie.
But like like there's plenty of Gamera movies that are just like this, where like they're made for kids. And, they're just
For real.
stupid, but like they can be entertaining, and charming, as you would say, for what they are. But like the problem with this is like Gamera spends half the movie, like, or more than half the movie, like just flying to this planet, like and not really doing anything. And so it's like the only like real, entertainment you get is like when Guiron just like chops up Space Gauss into like a bunch of like little pieces. And particularly the part where he chops his head off that still continues to roar for like 30 seconds before the lights go out.
Well, they do say that if you lose your head, then you are still alive for like 10 seconds.
Oh, well, I hope that never happens to me.
Yeah, me too.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like nothing really super entertaining happens like outside of that, because again, there's no deep thing going on in this movie.
It's basically like kids are on a spaceship for a good chunk of the movie, like thinking they're gonna take these girls home, and not realizing that they're gonna be eaten by them.
Yeah,
that's basically the movie.
And one of the kids is complaining about traffic accidents for the entire movie.
Oh yeah, so that's what we should talk about. The kid brings up his home planet having a lot of traffic accidents more than once.
Yeah.
More than once.
Beginning of the movie, middle of the movie, end of the movie. So it's a message she's trying to send.
What has happened in this kid's life to make him so afraid of traffic accidents?
I know.
I've been in several, and so I understand his concern. They're not fun.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what sort of like dark past this kid's had.
It's like where am I going with that reference? I was gonna make like a Macaulay Culkin, The Good Son reference. And I feel like it's
Orphan.
I feel like it's just like so obscure. He's
not actually a child. He's a 31-year-old man who's a grifter.
Oh, well,
and bounces around from family to family.
Well, okay. Well, that actually reminds me of something else I had in my notes that I almost like forgot. So like that kid who's so concerned about traffic accidents, whoever is dubbing his voice sounds like a 31-year-old man. Like to dub this like, 12, 11-year-old kid. I remember going like why? Like that's like an adult's voice like coming out of this kid. I feel like as the movie goes on, I feel like the voice gets a little bit more higher pitched and doesn't seem as like childlike.
It's a gradual pitch shifter.
Yeah, but I just remember at the beginning, I was like, whoa, I was like, this kid's like being dubbed by like an adult. Also, he's kind of a dickhead to his friend the entire time.
He's a dickhead to his friend. He tells him to shut up at one point. They ditch his sister.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a bad kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a bad 31-year-old grifter.
Also, his friend has a what the hell is it? Was shooting like little like suction cup things.
Yeah.
Don't they have like another name? I mean, I feel like we all used to have these as kids. I just don't remember what those like little suction cup things would be.
Yeah, like Nerf guns, whatever. I don't.
But he like, product of its time. I was like, that's a very realistic looking little handgun that he's got.
Well, yeah, they had to make them all neon colors because they didn't want realistic guns in stores and kids playing with realistic guns.
Yeah, that was
and now it's like we've gone way backwards.
But that was like the late '80s. That shit happened to like,
it was like early '90s.
Yeah, because they had like those like squirt guns or like the machine gun things, and like they didn't have the orange tips on them yet. But anyway, this kid's got like this like realistic looking gun shooting these suction cup things at the very like. I was like kind of like, not ready for this. But at the beginning of the movie, there's like the local cop that like they drive
What's his
by.
name again?
It's like they were calling him like, I don't know. They were saying something that I kind of feel like I'm not going to repeat it because I kind of feel like what they were saying. I think we would not say that now. So like, I'm not going to repeat what they were saying. But like he like drives by like at one point, he pulls his gun out and like shoots a like one of these like like he shoots like one of like the rubber suction cups at him, and I remember going, oh shit, that looks like a real gun. He's did like a fucking drive by like at this guy. I was like, that was kind of fucked up. Yeah, but that's all I was going with, was like that the gun was just like strikingly realistic looking for 1969. But that kid wasn't an asshole. He seemed like he was all right. I don't know why he puts up that abuse from that friend.
He doesn't have any other friends. He just wants that kid to think he's cool. Eventually, he shaves his head.
He does get his head shaved, yeah.
It's threatened. The cop says if they mess around anymore, like riding on tandem bicycles or shooting their little Nerf things, that he's got to shave their heads, and eventually that kid gets his head shaved.
Yeah, that was the literary equivalent of Chekhov's hair shaving.
Yeah, it was foreshadowing.
So, yep, and kid gets his head shaved. And like how they just put like a regular like razor like inside like a space gun toy, like when they're like shaving his head. I was like, that's kind of funny.
What do you think of the designs of the monsters?
So I think the Gamera suit's kind of relatively. I think it's the same suit they use throughout most of the Showa series, and so he's got his arms kind of flail around his like awkwardly flat body.
When he's standing in the water, he looks very flat.
Yeah,
he looks like flatbread Gamera.
Yeah, Showa Gamera looks best from the side, not from the front.
Well, I was gonna say, like from the side, he looks like flat.
Oh,
he looks like a 2D sprite.
I guess to me, he just looks very flat from every angle. Gamera is filled with turtle meat, but apparently not that much turtle meat. I mean, Guiron is just like the silliest kaiju design ever.
Yeah.
So,
big knife head.
Yeah, he's just a giant knife, and at first I was like, it's so stupid that it's great.
I think he's going to be one of the the monsters Gamera fights in the anime.
I hope so. That'd be awesome. I hope he looks like his Treadmasters figure from the 90s, which is like all super jacked.
I want him to look like how he's got like the knife. I want him to look like Gigan from Final Wars with the the
buzzsaw. Yeah, chainsaw. Yeah. That'd be awesome if like he just starts off like regular Guiron and then it gets like killed and then like revived with the chainsaw like guy again. that's like his story arc.
The aliens put the chainsaw on his head.
Yeah. And then there's that popular anime out there now, Chainsaw Man. He just kind of ends up looking like him.
Yeah.
So see, I tied it around to a pop culture reference.
Yeah. What do you think of the aliens in this?
I mean, they're fine. They're
no auxilians.
Yeah, it's like the other Gamera movies that come out around this. It's like there's always like one or two aliens like that are just hatching some sinister plans. So it's like so we didn't watch all the Gamera movies in order. Like Gamera versus Varas has like a pretty similar bad guy setup of like two evil aliens, and there's like a couple movies after this that have the same setup where it's like the kaiju is with like a couple evil aliens. So it's like they're kind of forgettable in the grand scheme of all the Showa Gamera movies. I don't know. Like one of them just decides to kill their friend pretty quickly. Like as soon as like it was like she just had like some equipment fall on her. Like I mean, you could probably pull her out and save her.
Probably.
Instead, she just like she's like, on our planet, like the weak are killed. And I was like, do you even have like anybody else in your race at this moment? Like, are you now like the only? I was like, are you the only one left? Like, that seems a little extreme. Maybe you should have thought that through a little bit.
But those kids just mean more food for her. So
that's true. A lot more brains for her. So I don't know. I thought they were just kind of forgettable, I guess.
They make good prom dates, though.
Did they say that at some point in the movie?
The mystery side.
Oh, okay.
It was a riff.
Yeah. So also for context, when I watched this, I watched my 1994 tape recording of this, which I was like amazed was like in still such good shape as it was. And it was like, I was more just like taken aback by all the 90s commercials I was getting bombarded with. Like I was telling you, there's like Zima commercials. There's some of the original Mentos commercials.
Was it the bench one?
It was the one where like some of the people are crossing the road and like one of the cars pulls out in front and like one of the friends is like cut off from his friends. So he just like walks like the back seat of the car and then does a little Mentos pose. There was a Plus commercial, for your perm. There was a deodorant commercial that starred a not yet famous Denise Richards.
Oh,
that was kind of blowing my mind.
She was a nuclear psychiatrist in a James Bond movie.
Yeah, she was Christmas, right? Or was her name Turk? Yeah, she was Christmas.
That was her line on 30 Rock, where she was an idiot. She was the leader of a group of idiots.
Oh, well, I have not seen 30 Rock, so.
I know. But she said she was a nuclear psychiatrist in a James Bond movie.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize you set me up like that. So.
Bonk.
Okay. But yes, this is not famous. Denise Richards was in this commercial. And then Charles Barkley was just like fucking endorsing everything back then.
Of course he was.
He was like in one like car commercial and then like
take that shit off the windows. You need that.
And then literally the next commercial is like a McDonald's commercial where he's going to like Michael Jordan's house and he's like harassing him about eating McDonald's and he wants to play him one-on-one and he shows up with like a basketball and some McDonald's. And Jordan like answers the door and goes, all right, Charles, just this one time. And he takes the ball and autographs it and hands it back to him and takes the McDonald's. And I was like, that was good. That was good. I laughed at that one.
I don't remember that one, but that's a good commercial.
I didn't remember that one in the least. That was like mind blowing to me.
It's like Tom Brady handing all his rings to Baker Mayfield and being like, hold these for me.
It's about right. So that was fun. That made the experience even more nostalgic for me.
Yeah. I could have watched this on YouTube, but I chose to watch this on
Pluto. Yeah.
A lot of ads on Pluto.
Yeah, that's what you get for something that has so much content yet is so free.
Yeah.
So.
Not complaining, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Nissans available.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anything else about this movie or this Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode?
We grazed on Mike being in it at the end. He has black hair and he's playing the piano quite beautifully.
Yes.
And singing about Gamera having turtle meat.
Yeah, I wonder if that's where that started with this, or if they had already established that in the other Gamera episodes.
No
I don't
idea.
really remember.
But in for our dynamic, am I pushing the button and are you killing Mike, or are you pushing the button and am I killing Mike?
That's how we should end this episode. Like, push the button, yes.
All right, so you're pushing the button. I'm pushing the button and you're killing him.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Although they don't give the Satellite Love theme for this episode. It's the
I know you get the song Mike was singing.
yeah. I like the Satellite Love theme, but
But yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. It's hilarious. I highly recommend watching this version of it.
so let's rank it both as a Gamera movie
Okay.
and a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode.
Sure, I could do that.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first for Gamera.
Okay.
It's a high 1, low 2.
Yeah, I'm at the same boat. It's a 2.
I don't have much to say about it. It's kind of a silly, dumb movie.
Yeah, it's a 2. There's I think we have watched, when I think of all the other Showa Gamera movies we have discussed on this pod. I mean, I've seen them all, but I mean, like, for what we discussed in the pod to this point, which is Baragon, Gauss, and the original movie, this is not nearly anywhere as entertaining as those 3 movies. So
Also, there's a lot of references to child abuse, and I'm not cool with that. So
yeah.
Those moms need to fucking fix their hearts or die.
Serve them to the aliens. So, as a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode, how do you rank this?
It's going to be a strong 4 from me. There are better episodes, but not many.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
I think this is a good one. I also think it's a 4. I think like 5 is like a Manos Hands of Fate episode.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. Like,
And this is not that tier. This is the tier below. But this is them. This is prime MST3K. Very good. Very entertaining. Very good.
I totally agree with you. It's a damn good watch if you ever get around to it. You get any figs?
I got
Slick.
I got one. You were definitely the main event of this
My
show.
penance purchase came in. But,
Yeah.
you want me to go first? Is this a
No,
Saturday night main
you're
event?
the main event. You're the main event.
But is it Saturday night main event where the main event's on first, and then and then I'm home to get a room service?
No, this is a send him home happy, I think, type one, because mine is not very interesting. I think I might have even tweeted about this. It was found myself in a random Newbury Comics I'm not used to being in after work one day. Because my wife had to buy something random at like a mall by her office, and it was just a random day. I'm telling the story to make this more interesting than the actual purchases, because
Gotcha.
so normally, like, my wife and I, we don't commute to work together ever, but it was like one day, just our schedules kind of lined up. We work close to each other, and it was a day we both had to be in the office and not remote. And to get a ride home, she said, "Oh, you got to stop at this mall because I got to get something." And I was like, "Okay, well, it's fine." Go to this Newbury Comics, because I always like to see what Newbury Comics has that's really overpriced that I can just find online or Target for about 20% cheaper. But they had these like nano blocks Godzilla figures, or they're blind bags.
Yeah.
I think nano blocks, I think, are like Legos for the cool kids now.
Okay.
I'm not really familiar with this scene.
Me neither.
Yeah. So
I know what you're talking about. I've seen like pictures of it, but I've
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. So, so I was looking at it. I said, I have not seen these locally anywhere else. I might as well buy a bag while I'm here. I was looking at it. Like, I don't remember everybody that you could get, but you could get Shin Godzilla, Kamada-kun. I think it was Showa Mechagodzilla, Mothra. I think I'm missing a few. I think there's a King Ghidorah, maybe a guy again. I said, you know what? I said, that's a good lineup. I'll buy one.
You
I'll
got
be
Shin
happy with
Godzilla.
whoever. And I got Shin Godzilla. That was actually the one I wanted the most, was Shin Godzilla. And I said, great. That's cool. It's a little tiny bag. It's like 40 pieces or something like that. Let me tell you, putting this shit together was fucking miserable. And, I think it's meant for a child's hands, maybe not a butterball like Kenny or stick of butter, whatever Tom Servo called him, Mr. Science 3000. But I got like skinny, bony hands, I should be able to put this together.
I got butterball hands.
It was maybe I got like salad fingers type fingers. I don't know, but it was like fucking tough for me to put this together. And like there were like how like Legos like they usually come in like pieces of 2, pieces of 3, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the most part how this goes. But like you also get some but these are smaller than Legos. They're a lot smaller. They're about each piece is like half the size of a standard Lego, at least from what I remember a standard Lego being.
Yeah.
And but some of them you get are just like one Lego, one block or whatever. And I tell you, putting those in place, fucking miserable. And I was like, this is why I don't do model kits. This is why I don't do Legos. Like I just don't have the patience for stuff like this. But you know what? I got it together. It does not really look like Shin Godzilla. It just looks like a blob of blocks with some red in the middle somewhere. And I was like, great, that's done. I don't ever want to do this again. But I did it, so you don't have to. So there's my review of Nano Blocks. 0 stars. So, what did you get?
Well, you know what I got? I had a old penance purchase last week because I went to stores and couldn't find anything good. Like I have seen Super 7s, but it's just like the Series 1 Rodan, and I'm not interested. Yes. Real quick, though, to discuss friends of the pod, Mothra Mystic, got some OSTs.
M's, if you will. Mist, I think I said in another episode.
They got some OST vinyls of some Godzilla movies.
When you phrase it like that, it's so trendy sounding.
I know.
Talk trendy to me. Not that your purchase was trendy. I mean, trendy's not the right hipster. Hipster is the right term.
But
and again, not saying you're hipster. Just we were saying OST vinyls.
I say OST because that's how I search on YouTube for introductory songs to my other podcast. But that's neither here nor there. That's why I say it, because I'm used to it now. But Mothra Mystic got the Godzilla vs. Mothra soundtrack and the Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack soundtrack. 2 fine ones to have right there. I think the GMK soundtrack is a little underappreciated.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's got that like new millennium like synth sound to it. Like it's almost like orchestric, but it's still synth.
I just like how the cover for that soundtrack is GMK stepping on Baragon's throat.
It looks like it's original artwork.
Also, I like how he's no longer Godzilla; he's just GMK.
Yeah.
So GMK stepping on Baragon's throat. Just.
But Godzilla vs. Mothra is the other one, and I mean,
yeah, it's just a solid one all around.
Can't go wrong with that one. But I think the GMK soundtrack is pretty awesome.
It's the '90s one, so a lot of good mix. I mean, I don't know what's actually on the soundtrack, but I mean that movie's a good mix of classic themes and I don't know if there's actually no. There's the Mothra theme is kind of gets like kind of like that pup song version. Actually, that's like my favorite version of the Mothra theme is the pup song when they got the music video to promote that movie.
But I just wanted to give a quick shout out. So what I got was a bootleg Space Godzilla Bandai figure, which is painted with silver spikes and a big red splotch on his belly. And it looks kind of funny, but like the figure itself is pretty awesome.
So I think I like his eyes are like so off-centered. I love it.
Yeah.
But actually, I think this is a pretty sweet. You see these bootlegs a lot of the Space Godzilla mold on like AliExpress and things like that. I think this is actually a pretty good figure. I don't have the Bandai movie monster series Space Godzilla, but I have the original Bandai figure that was released in 94, the one that's like 8 inches tall, and this seems to be pretty much like an exact copy of that mold.
Just way smaller.
Yeah, just way smaller. Yeah, like that's an awesome figure. It's a very eye-catching figure, and I think like this being a bootleg, uh, I mean, I think this is a really good bootleg. I mean, I just made a joke saying like, oh, the eyes are off-centered, but like honestly, if you got a Bandai figure, like the eyes are probably also going to be off-centered. The teeth are painted pretty well.
Oh yeah. So I was gonna say, this is easily the best Space Godzilla figure I have out of two. The other one being, of course, being the Playmates figure, which Playmates is not better than Bandai. If anyone tries to convince you of that, then they are smoking the devil's lettuce.
Some fighting words there.
I know. I'm just making it known right now that Bandai offers a superior product. But this is a bootleg of a Bandai, and it's pretty cool. The tail is painted.
All the way to the end. I was just about to say, all the way to the end.
It's just kind of painted different colors than what you would expect. Typically, you'd expect like blue and white, but this is and yellow, but this is black, red, and silver.
I like it, actually. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Cool stuff. The eyes are a little oogly, but whatever.
There is like a ton. I don't know if you've ever like downloaded the AliExpress app and just like looked around on it, which is just like it's like basically like Amazon for bootlegs. It's a fascinating place to do a deep dive on for like Godzilla figures, style, whatever you want. Like they got all the bootlegs you could ever want. It's wild. And the Godzilla ones are like fascinating. And like I haven't bought anything off there in a long time, but I feel like I'm due for something because like they'll be like, oh, here's like a Godzilla Earth that is 14 inches tall, but it's gonna be like have like a purple and green color scheme to it, or you can get like shorter ones like like the Shin Godzilla that's like it's like a bootleg of the Bandai mold, but instead of being red, maybe it's gonna be like I don't know, yellow or green, or it's just like weird color schemes going on, and they're so silly looking that like I've been tempted to buy one at some point. The last time I downloaded the app, that's where I got the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla bootleg, and that's like cool. Yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, but it's like, but that always gets me looking every now and then at like what other like weird bootlegs that like that Space Godzilla is on there constantly.
Yeah,
and it's like the Godzilla Earth with like that are like just like a rainbow of colors. I'm like, oh man, I was like, at some point I'm gonna get these. Like it's just like every SH Monsterrat figure has like a bootleg on there for like a fraction of the price. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger on one of those because I feel like all the limbs are gonna fall off as soon as I get it. But
would it really be a bootleg then?
That's actually very true. That's maybe everything's like maybe you just can't move it, but it's all in place a lot better.
Yeah, that's kind of what that Godzilla is. I don't think that Godzilla's moved since I put it. I don't think the last time it fell apart was the last time I handed it to you for the sole purpose of you handling it normally and breaking it within 2 seconds.
Yes,
that's what happens.
Yes,
I think that was the last time that fell apart. That was the last time it moved. Was that.
You were referring to your SH Monsterrat's legendary Godzilla? Yes. Yeah. I have not bought an SH Monsterrat's figure in a long. Well, actually, I only own one. So I own the very first release, and I have never felt compelled to buy another one since.
Yeah, the only other one I have is Fig Arts WWE Triple H.
Oh yeah, but like
I kept it in the box though.
They also like that same line does like a bunch of like Ultraman figures too. Like the quality control in those seems so much better than the Godzilla ones. But like I was gonna buy the Godzilla Ultimate one, then I watched a bunch of people's like reviews of it, and it's like it's all the same stuff. All the teeth are painted like shit. Like
the limbs are gonna have like open holes where you can see all the.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, that's what that one has.
And like the jaw doesn't like close like tightly like across. It's like it's not even. I sit there like, what is like? I mean, for the amount of money you're paying for those, like it's just
they need to improve. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just. I mean,
like I said, like then it's more detailed than the NECA ones, but like for the $22 I paid for the NECA ones as opposed to the $67 I paid for that one, like give me NECA all day.
Yeah. Well, now we get higher toys, like just just swinging for the fences now with their shit, being somewhere in the middle between the two.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like they're probably not as articulated as SH Monster Rats, but but they're more articulated than anything else, and like the detail on them seems incredible. And like you and I both pre-ordered the new legendary one. And I like how
I'm gonna bring up I pre-ordered it but forgot about it, and it's not coming out until like the fall, right?
I think so, yeah. So I like how the one complaint that people always had with like the first version of the release was like, oh, like, well, like the neck is like kind of like weird flap things going on, and Hiya Toys, to their credit, said we are going to resculpt the neck on this new version coming out, so you're not going to have that issue anymore. Yeah. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is going to be like the company to kind of fill that like mid-tier price point range with super articulated figures.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
I got high hopes for it, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I was a little bummed I missed out in the first version of that figure, but now that we're getting like kind of the retooled and improved one, I'm actually kind of glad now I missed out on that, because now I'm assuming we're gonna get the superior product.
I hope so. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I forget how much that was. 100?
No. It's like $49.
Oh
yeah, $49.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
that's a great for what it is. That's
the Gorgo
a great
one was 100. That's what I was.
Yes. The Gorgo one that has done a much better job getting funded than the WCW ring has for Mattel, but that's a little bit different story.
So just to get side boat for that for just a second, I have to talk about that. The last one I got was $250. It came with a ring, like a set that lit up and everything, and 3 figures. This one, and different ring skirts that you could put on.
Mm-hmm.
This one, no ring, 5 figures, and it's $400.
Let's actually have a little impromptu side discussion here.
Yeah.
I'll kind of table set this conversation here. So we kind of referenced the Gorgo crowdfunding thing, right? So that's by a small independent toy company, Titanic Creations,
and you're getting a ton of extras. It's awesome.
Yes, that is. I want to put that qualifier out there, because what we're about to say, or what I am about to propose as a topic is to not talk about those companies. That I think makes 100% sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Love what they're doing. I want to see more independent toy companies do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to talk about is like the Mattels of the world, the Hasbros of the world, the giant companies that are doing these like weird crowdfunding projects for like these sort of specialty items. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. You're you're Mattel, you're Hasbro.
Yep.
Like you are the giant players in this space.
Yes.
Like you got like you. I feel like it's like, for them, it's like free market research.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
And it's like, I look at like AEW and Jazzwares, I guess, keeping with like wrestling, like they put out like an authentic scale ring,
mm-hmm.
but like they didn't crowdfund it. They just said, we're just going to put it out, and it sold, and it did well. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about these like big toy companies doing these crowdfunding campaigns?
I don't think it's as much an infraction as you do. I don't have a huge issue with it. Like, everyone's gonna do it. I don't think you should restrict anyone from doing it. It's they're not doing it with a lot. They're doing it with very niche, like stuff that they're on the fence about, stuff that they know collectors want. But they're trying to, like, what Mattel's problem is, they're trying to bilk people out of so much money for these things that, like, I'm a huge WCW fan, probably the biggest WCW person that you know, and I'm just like, no flipping way.
Yeah,
like, I would love this.
That's the one time you don't swear.
Sorry, goddamn. But like, if they put this on store shelves for $100 just the set, I would buy it immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. I'd be like, yes, absolutely. This is $400 because they saw how well the last one at $250 did. But again, that came with a ring, 3 figures, and a set. Like, you got so much more bang for your buck. These come with 5 figures, 3 of which I do not care about.
Right.
And so I'm just like, I want the Steiner one. Thankfully not for his brother, that dirtbag. It's the good Steiner.
Yeah.
He likes the freaks. And DP one. Like I just got a Rey Mysterio Jr. figure, so I don't need the purple Rey Mysterio. I have the red one. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't need the Hogan because there's a quadrillion Hogan figures, so that one's useless. Like the DDP one I want just because I don't have one, but like I don't need, there's other ones I could get easily.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not enough meat on this bone, and it's just so much money for this, so much more money, because a lot of it I think is they're looking at aftermarket resellers to see what they're doing, and of course they're upcharging. So I think Mattel is going into this thinking like we'll sell it for the upcharge price.
Yeah. One of the other problems I have is and I think Mattel is more guilty of this than Hasbro. Is that like I feel like Mattel kind of puts out the word going like, well, if you don't fund this, like there's not going to be anything else after this.
Good thing. Yeah.
And I feel like that's like they're almost kind of holding people hostage, going like, well, you better fund it or else, that other really cool thing, not going to get it.
I feel like that's a thing too that they definitely do, and the shills for it, like the major figure podcasts are definitely shills for it. I don't care what it says.
Absolutely.
So
I love them, but that's the worst thing they do.
Exactly.
For sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like but they're doing it from a shill where they really want it. They're not like getting paid to do that, I don't think.
Right.
But at the same time, it's almost a similar thing to the Miko, where their blind faith in wanting something doesn't really show or reflect like the best interests of the hobby.
Right. I agree.
And I think that's a negative thing, because if they're going so hard into something that's, for lack of a better term, bilking people for every penny they have that they could possibly get out of them for wanting this. And it's like, I understand because they're not capitalizing monetarily enough on that time frame, so they want to maximize their profits from that time frame because they can't put out any new content from that time frame. That's all they have, all they'll ever have is what is out there. So they're trying to make new things to make money off that property that they own the license for, but it's for $400. No fucking way.
You said no flipping way.
I know. I caught myself and decided to swear for you.
So I guess tying it back to Godzilla stuff, like, sometimes I get annoyed by this, but I think as we talk it through, I start to realize like what Bandai does bothers me less now when they kind of go, all right, let's have a poll for like what you want as figures.
I have no problem with polls. Just let me vote in them.
There's always a way.
I'm not making my address Kirkland Hall to vote in a poll.
Yeah, but I mean, also I get it. Like, I mean, they are also not releasing those figures in America. They're releasing them in Japan, and they're asking like their actual customer base to vote for them. But like, because at first it was like, I like the Varanda figure we got, but like when we got down, like when the poll got down, when they did kind of like the championship round of voting, right? And it was like Varan and Super Mechagodzilla or whatever it was else at the time. It was like they were basically just like, well, it's like, look at like, I mean, I look at like that Varan figure and I go, such an underrepresented character in the Bandai Movie Boss series.
Yeah.
And gets over this giant hurdle through like, people like kind of having Twitter pushes and stuff like that. And it was like when he got to the finals, and it was still like he had to win the finals. Right. Like on top of that, I was like, oh, he got this far, like against like a Mechagodzilla or whatever it was. I was like, now, granted, we did ultimately get the figure, but I was like, don't like tell me now, like after like all this like push to get this like more obscure character to this point, that like you're gonna yank the rug out and go, yeah, we might not make that figure if he doesn't beat Mechagodzilla that you already got like 30 of. Like that part like kills me a little bit. I almost kind of feel like I think they know they're gonna make the figure, but they're like, yeah, let's get you like really fucking emotionally invested. Like it's almost like, I don't want to say gaslighting.
It's manipulation for sure.
Yeah. It's like but I mean, I guess it works. I mean, it worked on me. Like,
I think it comes to a question of priorities. Do you care enough to like push for it, or they're trying to test like how far will you go almost?
Yeah. I mean,
and the same thing for Mattel for me, and they pushed it way too far. If they kept it out at the same price point, just no ring. If they put in like, hey, no ring, but like if you got like the raw ring that came out on Ringside for like $100 a few months ago,
Yeah.
like we got skirts for it, so you can make it a nitro ring. We got a
Right.
new mat, so you can make
Right.
it like with the nitro logo on it if you want. Like if they just did that and kept it for the same price point and no ring but 5 figures, like I probably would have ordered it.
Right. I guess
Like it's overpaying, but like at the same time, like I probably would have done it. But just the fact that they stretched the price limit so far, just because the last one they had like an early bird special way after the fact, and so like with that early bird special, it kind of put it over the top for me,
Mhm.
and that's why I was like, okay, financially it makes sense now. I'm going to buy this.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to do anything to financially make this make sense.
Yeah.
It's just they looked at the aftermarket prices and said, we want some of that.
And we keep singling out Mattel with like their wrestling stuff because that's what we do, but also it's like Hasbro did the same shit with like some Star Wars stuff for like and they do the same shit with like Marvel and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and as we're talking through it, like I kind of go back to the Bandai thing where it's like Bandai's like just kind of like kind of messing with us for like $15 to $20 figures, whereas like these companies are just like, yeah, these like $400 sets,
Yeah.
$500 sets, like dump your money in this. And like, so actually, I guess Bandai, you're not so bad in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I have way less of a problem with and they don't do it, like I said, none of these companies are doing it for everything they do. It's just like very niche stuff, so I don't have a huge problem with it. Like it's not like they can't afford to like do
that's
their
the
own
part that
market
kills.
research.
That's the part that kills me.
But like I feel like the savings that they're probably seeing on this is so minimal that like it's really it who cares?
And maybe I don't know, maybe I'm fighting a battle that doesn't need to be fought, but it's like when I see like independent toy companies like Titanic Creations doing the Gorgo thing,
yeah,
I go like that's basically a one dude shop,
right?
Who's like paying
this should be what it's for.
And it's like, and I feel like when you have, if something is being crowdfunded in that space, and if you had like a giant company like Bandai who's like, we need you to crowdfund some other thing in the same space, I feel like all that does is hurt the smaller independent toy companies because people can only put their money in so many places. And I think if you are a Mattel, a Hasbro, a Bandai, whatever, I think you go
to do this.
Like, exactly. I just go like, you know what a proven product is and you know what will sell. And like, you don't need to make people tie their money up in your experiment. Either you believe in it or you don't believe in it, and put it out and like leave that money freed up for people to invest like in more independent toy companies and stuff like that. Cause like, it's so expensive for like independent toy companies to get off the ground.
Yeah.
So expensive.
Yeah.
Like look at how much, like that Gorgo figure we keep going back to, like, it's like they keep hitting goals. And like it's $100, and it's like, but when you look at it, it's like the goal is like, we hit 500, so now we can have all these other things, like these like little tiny like accessories and stuff like that. Like that just shows $100 times 500. That just shows how expensive it is for a small company that doesn't have Mattel or Hasbro's purchasing power to like put these figures out. And now like it's so, I don't know, it's just so very disingenuous to me when like a giant toy company's like, oh, crowdfund our shit. Like that's like a drop in the bucket to us.
Yeah. It's a drop in the bucket. That's why I'm kind of like, whatever money you think they're saving is kind of negligible. Like, it's probably more of like a tax write-off scheme than anything else.
Yeah,
somehow.
probably.
Yeah, like, the U.S. tax code is so fucking bonkers that like people, if you listen to this from another country, you're probably just being like, what are you talking about? Tax write-off? Like, what? But like there's a Supergirl or a Batgirl thing that was made with Brendan Fraser that was completely finished, and then they just like, we're not putting this out. They're using it as a tax write-off. Like, it was better for a company to never release like media that they made than actually releasing
the infamous Fantastic Four movie from the 90s.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There was a joke about that in Arrested Development. But where was I going with this? Oh, so when you have like a Titanic Creations thing, like that's what crowdfunding should be for, is to launch these smaller guys and help them put out like a good product. Whereas like the Mattels, they don't have to do this, but at the same time, they are pushing the limits on nostalgia, and it's soulless capitalism at its worst.
Agreed. Yes, totally agreed.
At the same time, if they put something out that's reasonably priced that I want, I'm gonna back it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you know,
Sorry, I'm not a great person.
it's more that like these bigger companies like want crowdfunding for over the top $400, $500 playsets. Like there was like a Galactus thing that I think was like a shit ton of money, and then again the Rancor set on the Star Wars side, like, or on the wrestling side, these like a $400 like entrance ramp for fucking Nitro. Get the fuck out of here, you know. But if
that's what I'm saying, like make this $250 and you got yourself a deal with all the figures, but like put it on store shelves for $100, and
I would be much more in support of, even if these big companies that we said we're going to take a really obscure character that would probably make 0 sense to, you know, make 100,000 or 200,000 or whatever 400,000 of these figures, like something that like we know is not going to sell, but like, you know, maybe something's part of like our regular $12 line or $20 line or whatever figure line it is. And maybe it's priced a little bit more to offset the shorter run, and just go, yeah, would you support this? I'm much more in favor of that. It's like these things that are like $400 play sets and shit like that. Like I hate, like drives me nuts.
I understand.
Drives me nuts. It's like it's these huge companies taking 0 risk because they just walk away going like, oh, didn't get fun. Fuck it, we walk away.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm sure obviously there's some costs, but like, you know. They just kind of go, you know, it's like no risk, all reward. You know,
I think there's certainly less risk and possibly more reward. Like the Mattel thing that I got last time with the old WWF set, huge profits on that, like gigantic.
Absolutely,
and that's why they're trying this.
Absolutely,
and they're trying to widen that profit margin. It's just not going to happen.
This gets into like a bigger, maybe conversation about like collecting and stuff like that. Like, there are times where it's like, you know, I don't win something on eBay, or I don't buy something on like an aftermarket seller website and stuff like that. And like, I don't like kind of like maybe complain about it that I didn't win something or whatever. And, you know, my wife will be like, well, you could have afforded the price that it went at. And I said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But she's not a collector of anything.
I can afford the Nitro set, no problem. That's not the issue. I could pay for it like
you
that.
You shouldn't support that behavior.
Exactly. I look at value. It's a huge, like, I always call myself frugal. Like I use a different term. I call myself cheap, but like, I do spend a ton of money, but I just have to want the item, and it has to be priced at a spot where I'm comfortable paying it. Like, this is not something where I can't afford it. It's something where I don't want to pay what you're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And my wife and I have this debate all the time.
And so it's a huge, like, you have to have your priorities straight with your money, and you have to know what you're spending it on is worth it for you.
I will also circle back to that conversation, but when my wife and I do have these conversations, my wife does not collect anything, and usually she is usually spending the money on something that's probably actually very important to our day-to-day lives, whereas I'm talking about toys.
Right.
And so I go like, you don't understand, this isn't groceries.
Yeah.
This isn't eggs. This is I don't want to like artificially inflate the price of these Godzilla bag clips that I'm all about. You know?
It's like with something you need, it's a little different. It's like, that's what it's going to cost you this week.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to get is she's coming from a very rational place.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But I'm coming from like I was like, well, me buying this is going to impact the collector's market, and I'm a big proponent of like I hate it when people either overspend or underspend on something. Like, I hate it like when something that's worth a lot of money gets like somebody like slips in and, you know, like just in some fluke manner, something that's like should be like a really high price
doesn't know
item,
the true value of
and
something.
they get it for like dirt cheap, and it just totally kills the value for the next like 6-7 months.
Oh, I didn't think it was.
Well, that's the inverse. And I hate that too.
I just thought you meant like some random guy getting a deal. Like, that's happened to me. Like, I make no apologies. I got a Series 2 LJN Andre for $20.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I'm thinking of like the unreleased, in thought lost forever, like the Trendmasters Anguirus, like the battle armor, like the, you know, like we were like those didn't exist at all until about 2 years ago. And then we got about a dozen of them in a row, and everybody who bought them, like myself, like we got one. And I don't think there's like a demand for those now. But someone who still has them is still putting them up at like a lower price and a lower price and a lower price. Because I think everybody who wanted one has got one. And I sit there and go, like, stop putting them up. Like, you're hurting yourself. You got to hold on to these now for like a little bit because the demand's not there. You're killing the value on what the rest of us paid, you know, for that. So like, you got to chill for a little bit. And like that, like, I don't know, maybe I overthink the whole collecting aspect of it a little bit too much, but I go like, I think like it's wrong to tank the value of a collectible just as much as I think it is to overvalue.
I think market manipulation is a very bad thing. Overall, like you see in video games all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I think that comes from a place of people who don't want the stuff. They just view it as like a way to make money. And that's a completely different thing. That's not really collecting. That's more just like predatory capitalism. And it's something that like we need to be wary of. And like you said, like if it affects the value of something that we like cherish, like we need to like nip that in the bud and get that shit out of here.
Yeah.
And I don't think the crowdfunding thing's necessarily doing that.
No, this was a little side tangent.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with companies doing that for the most part. But when it comes to like speculation and people coming in and trying to like severely increase the value of something, you see it in guitars all the time too.
Sure. Yeah. Lots of markets.
Someone coming in with a tribal BC Rich Broad Series Warlock that would have gone for $80 in 2019. Someone's trying to sell it for $500 now. You know, it's those type of things. That shit's more reserved for like super niche stuff that has value. Like I have an amp called a PVVTM 120. Bought it for $177 in 2007. It's a $500 amp now. Like I could sell it tomorrow for like $500-$600. No problem. But it's like a niche amp that like you never hear about.
Yeah.
Whereas you know, if I'm trying to take like a shitty guitar like my Agile or my Platinum Series Warlock and be like, yeah, $700. It's like, no, that's not what those are worth.
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
It's like I'm trying to make as much money as I can for myself at the expense of everybody else.
Right.
It just sucks. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Like I guess to kind of put a pin in like what I was saying was like I hate when I see like, and sometimes I know it's like an innocent mistake, but sometimes I don't think it's an innocent mistake. Like when I see certain, you know, Godzilla items or whatever that, you know, are kind of like intentionally or maybe accidentally, but probably like intentionally mislabeled, like on certain like Mercari or eBay, that like clearly is like somebody knows to search for like this weird bad description for like a very unique item, that they can get it like at a super low price, which I then think like is like it's meant to give somebody like maybe like some sort of backdoor deal has occurred. Like, you know, like I mean, I've sold a bunch of stuff on eBay. There's people always like message you going like, oh, do this and I'll PayPal you this money on the side and I'll win the auction for this. You know, and I don't do that. But it's like but I get the like when I was selling like my Transformers collection or my Turtles collection, I would get messages like that all the time. And I was like, no, I'm just doing it the proper way, you know? And it's like, but what happens is like, you know, when people start going like, all right, well, what's the value of this thing? And they start checking the auction sites and they see, oh, this thing that used to sell for $300, $400. Oh, like, well, people are buying it for like $20, $25, $30. Like, and like, you just kill the value of something. And it's like, you know, I'm not trying to resell this stuff, but
that's
like,
more nefarious than what I was talking about. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, and it's like, I feel like the underselling part is like more of a scheme, or just as much of a scheme as like the overinflation of stuff. And again, it's like I'm not buying the stuff to resell it, but at the same time too, it's like, you know, I want like what I paid for it to still mean something, you know. And if something just like naturally loses interest and naturally goes down in value, like that's totally fine. But like people fucking with like valuations, either overinflating it or underinflating it, I don't like that. I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's what I mean. Like that what you described with like backdoor deals, that's way more nefarious. And like, yeah, absolutely, has no place in the collecting scene. You got to nip that shit in the bud. Like,
Absolutely.
What you did, like, just being like, I'll give you an example of like what you should do. Like, I collected Power Rangers shit during the pandemic. I was like, one of the things I did was just rebuilding the Ultra Megazord set, and I got I ordered the Mastodon from Greece. Like the dude from Greece had it, and I was like, sure. So like 6 months went by, and I never got it. So I was like, hey, it must have got lost. Like, and the guy was like, I understand. Sorry, here's your money back and everything. Like 3-4 months later, it arrived. So probably like March to August or September is like 6-7 months. I got it, and so I reached out to the guy, and I was just like, hey, it actually arrived. Like, here's the money back. I'm PayPaling you back. Like, all the money I originally paid that you refunded me. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like,
that's very nice of you.
Yeah, but like,
Nice of you.
That's how you keep it clean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to like in something that you see a lot of that you'll laugh at is like you go to the wrestling aisle and you'll see like a figure in a box that has clearly been tampered with.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Or repacking is what we call it. So they'll put in either a different figure and steal the figure out of there and then refund it to get all their money back so they get a free figure. And then some unknowing person potentially buys it. Or they just return it and lose out on the resale because it'll just be filed under loss at that point. But people will take like accessories out of toys too and just like keep the box on the shelf. Like the replica belt is missing or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, like, at the end of the day, like, that shit is a negative to the entire hobby. Like, creating that sort of loss means companies lose out on money. I mean, there's less potential for them to reorder new products. There's also the company that makes it seeing, like, oh, these products aren't selling, they're just being stolen, so we're not going to make this line anymore.
Right.
So it'll just cause negative things. Like, the more negativity you invite into your hobby, the worse it's going to get until it's eventually just going to cave in. So just don't be a dick at the end of the day.
Don't be a dick, Scott.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick. Hey, Paul, don't be a dick.
and not our mutual friend, Paul. Now that I know that. I don't know if it's another one.
I'll tell you off.
Yeah.
Offline.
That's totally cool. But that's what I basically mean. Like, try to be as good a person as possible. Reasonable deals. Like, if you want to like give like a 10%, 20% deal on someone you know, like, treat it like treat the resale that you're doing as you would want to be treated as a buyer. The golden rule: treat other people as you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
So that's sort of the long and short of it for me. Treat your hobby with respect, and it will respect you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have any. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, you know what I got to say? Push the button, Kess.
Push the button. So what are we doing next time for episode 98? Should we do something from 98?
No.
All right, we'll push that back 2 weeks. Or 4 weeks, I should say.
2 episodes. Yeah, no.
I like the vitriolic negative response to that amused me.
Go ahead, keep asking. Still no.
For episode 99, should we do something from 99?
We already did Godzilla 2000.
Well, that's 2000. That's not 99.
What's in the title?
What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets. But enough talk. Have at you. It's from.
Oh, I thought that was it. I thought we were ending the recording.
I was just gonna say, are we doing a poll?
Yeah, maybe.
Poll or
poll if we can't think of anything after we stop recording.
All right. So
you'll find out you'll find out how this conversation resolves if there's a poll or not.
We'll talk turkey with billionaire Ted, and if we put up a poll in a week or so, then well, that's what we decided.
If it wasn't for me, you'd still be selling meat out of the back of a truck.
Yeah. Bye.